Are we gonna buy our wiring in bulk? We're gonna try to find a harness that fits this. What wire fits your budget? I don't ever recommend going cheap, but if you wanted to, you could. When it comes to doing your full rewire, is making your own harness or buying a pre-made harness the way to go? I'm gonna give you my 2 cents. So we have a 10-year-old Big Tex trailer here. It has been well used and many times abused. We're fixing to do some major maintenance on it. One of the things we're gonna do is replace the wiring on it. Has a few little bugs in it here and there. The wiring's starting to get dry. It does have the original wiring on the trailer, less. It's probably had 20 trailer plugs on it in its lifetime, but starting to get some codes on the truck, and it's just time. It's time to fix the floor, new cylinder. It's got a bunch of stuff we got to do to it. So that brings a question: which way am I going to rewire it, and which way are you going to rewire it? Are we going to buy our wiring in bulk? We're going to try to find a harness that fits this. So we're going to talk about the positives to both of these. I believe both of these do have positives and negatives. Then we'll talk about the bad. I'll explain to you which one I'm going to use and why. We're going to start with the bulk wiring. We'll move the harness out of the way. A positive to bulk wiring is you have the opportunity to buy quality wire, or what wire fits your budget. Maybe you don't need the most expensive wire out there. Maybe you don't tow your trailer very often, or if it stays in the field. I don't ever recommend going cheap, but if you wanted to, you could. So this could be budget friendly, or you could buy top-notch wire. So you have the availability to buy whatever bulk wire that best fits your needs. The other thing with the bulk wire, depending on how your trailer is wired, maybe you don't have brakes, so you're not gonna need brake wire. You may just need a 3-way or a 4-way wire, which we have a 3-way here, or you may want to run a 7 or 6-way. Maybe you're working on an RV. Maybe you're working on a gooseneck trailer that's got reverse lights or something like that. You can use a 7-way wire or a 6-way. This wire here, you can buy this very cheap and you can buy expensive, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, what's the difference between the two. But that's one of the main positives to me, is you can buy the wire in bulk. It's readily available in most cases, whether that be online, parts store, wherever it may be, and you can buy whatever quality that so you choose, and you can modify it however you want to fit your needs. Maybe you're putting some custom lights. Maybe you want to add some chicken lights down the side of your trailer so it glows like a spaceship at night. With this, you have the capability to put it in your own hands and feel like you've done something when you do it. You will need some butt connectors. You will need maybe some eyelets and stuff like that. Another option you would have would be putting a junction box. Do I think you always need a junction box? Maybe, maybe not. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video, but you can get you a junction box in order to put your 7-way up front, or maybe you're doing a molded 4 or a 6-way, whichever. So it just gives you the option to modify it however you need. Let's look at the wiring harness, because that's the question we get. We have a lot of people that, hey, I just need to buy a wiring harness for my trailer. I don't want to mess with all this, and I get it. You just want it ready to go out of the box. That's kind of the society we live in today. So some of that is available. I'm going to show you a wiring harness. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. We're going to lay the harness out. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the positives. Then we're going to talk about all the negatives. So this trailer here, being a Big Tex, it'd be with some of your PJs, some of your mass-produced trailers, many of them are going to come with a harness, and that's what this has, and it's served itself well. So it would be relatively straightforward and easy just to replace the factory harness with another factory harness like we have here. I'm going to pull it apart and we'll talk about it. We're going to start at the front, work our way to the back. Keep your twist ties. That's like when the end of the world happens, we need twist ties. So you can just, you can do everything with those. So this will be your 7-way plug. So we'll just lay that there. And this is like a deep freeze style cable. So when it gets really cold, or if you're up north and it stays cold, it's not going to get rigid. The importance of that is, with it staying flexible, is during the wintertime when it gets cold, if it gets too rigid, it will actually cause it to fall out just from vibration on the highway. So I do like the deep freeze stuff, and that is getting much more readily available and affordable. So we'd have our first connection here. So you have some wires hanging out here, and if you notice on this harness, it already has some heat shrink butt connectors on it, on these 3 wires. It also has a chassis ground on there. If you don't understand chassis ground, we will leave a link in the description below that explains that. And we have our first sealed connector that would go here. Now I'm gonna strip the rest of the harness back. So the first connection is gonna be close to where the tongue meets the front or the deck of the trailer. It is gonna be a plug and play to power the rest of the harness, but you will have to hardwire some wires here and towards the rear. This is for the breakaway battery system. You will crimp these on, they heat shrink them, then you can tape them up, whatever you want to do on that. Put in your chassis ground. Do not forget to do that or your lights are not going to work very well. Then it plugs into this harness, has an arrow. You're plugged in there, and we'll work our way to the back. It does have the pigtails on it for your marker, clearance, tag light, running light, chicken light, whatever light you want to call it, but this will work for any of your 2-inch, 2.5-inch round. There is some slack in this harness, so you can run it. So when you look at it and say, hey, it's going to be a little bit too long, that is the case. You may even have to bundle and zip tie to take the slack out so it's not hanging. So we'll work our way on to the back. This one here has a harness for some front marker lights, which this one doesn't have on it. We're going to add some marker lights to the front. You could have a harness if you have center lights like your red and amber above your fender. And this trailer does have brakes on both axles, so we'll work our way back to that and talk about that. This would be your brake drops. So the way this harness is built, you would hook your front and rear axle up, and you would have to have a wire either going through the tube of your axle, whether that be torsion or whether that be a standard spring axle, or you would have to run a wire through there. A lot of the newer axles no longer have the wire going through the tube, torsion, or spring, so you have to put a channel, some type of chase to run your wire. You can zip tie it to the axle tube itself, and if you use a strong zip tie, most of the time that will work, unless maybe you're working off-road or in the field, you could pull those wires out. In that case, I would recommend running some type of chase. So it does have both your brake drops coming out of this sealed connector here. Has a spot for fender marker and tag light connection. This one has an LED. And then you have another plug and play harness, arrow to arrow. Another chassis ground, I like that. Lots of chassis grounds. It has your left turn pigtail. This would be for like a 4-inch round or a 6-inch oval. Either one of those would work. Couple of marker lights to go. If you're not going to use one of these, you're either going to have to cap it or you're going to have to take it out, and sometimes you do have to do that. And then as it moves across, it will have in here somewhere the lights for your ID bar light that goes in the back, your red, that you're required to have on certain trailers. You know, they are getting pretty particular if that is not hooked up. I've seen more people get pulled over and been ticketed for not having the ID bar light. And then we'll move around the corner to your right turn that will hook up. And then as it goes to the front, this is just for marker, clearance, whatever light you want to call them, all the way up the right-hand side. What makes this handy is it's pretty much all wired. You will have to make a few connections, but it's sealed harnesses. It, most cases, already has the butt connectors installed. You just have to make your crimp. When you do make that crimp on a heat shrink butt connector, make sure you're using the proper tool to do that. If you use a standard pair of crimpers, it can cause that to split, so make sure you get the right tool. We'll try to leave a link to one of those tools in the description below. This is handy in the fact that if you can get a harness that fits your trailer, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty clean once you're done. Even if you have slack, you can just tie slack up with a zip tie. This harness can be repaired. If you have one end that goes bad, whether that be a rat chute or something, you can cut it out and just put a pigtail. You don't have to replace the whole harness if you just need to make a repair. If you need multiple repairs, if you have multiple issues, whether you're a pre-made harness or if it's just got standard hard wiring, sometimes it's better just to replace it all so that you know what you've got, kind of start over in that case. So I do like the pre-made harnesses just because they are clean, especially on your newer trailers, and they just look good once you put them on it. It kind of looks factory. So it may be a viable option. Now let's talk about the negatives, and we're going to start with the negatives on the pre-made harnesses. The first negative to the pre-made harness is, in my opinion, they're hard to get, and they're usually custom fit for the unit. So if you're taking this custom harness and try to retrofit it to an older trailer, it may take you more time and energy to retrofit that than just to do a hard wire. Many times you have to go back to the manufacturer where the trailer was built, whether that be straight to the manufacturer if they sell to the public, or through a dealer that stocks that trailer or sells that trailer, and you order the harness that's best suited for the trailer for that model number. Many times you need your VIN number. This harness here is VIN number specific. So this harness is made for a certain trailer. Not to say that you can't make it work on something else, but the links, where the light drops are, where the brake drops are, they have engineered that, they've sent it in to a manufacturer, and they come back with a custom harness. So that is one of the biggest drawbacks, is availability. Here's the other issue we see with them. This connector right here it does fail. Usually what causes it to fail is just from vibration. It will start working its way loose, and at that point it will begin to get dirt and moisture in there. When I install these, and a lot of the manufacturers, what they do, they will wrap that in tape. The tape is not to keep moisture out. If this is together, it is a sealed unit. The tape is just to help with vibration and everyday wear and tear to keep that from popping apart. So many times this here does fail, short out, even one of the connectors will fail in there. The fix to that is, though, if this fails, you don't have to replace the whole harness. If everything else is good, we will actually cut this on either side and we'll just make a hard wire connection with heat shrink butt connectors, and you're good to go. And that can be said for any of these throughout. Occasionally, we will see this section here on cheaper harnesses. Wherever they've molded this together, we have seen occasional failures in here where it will fail internally. Again, on that, if it does, you can cut either side of it out and just do a hard wire on there. The same can be said for any of your clearance light connectors. If that gets corroded out, you can cut that out, put a connector in there. You don't have to replace the whole harness. So I get asked, well, what is the benefit of this? Is it not better? Here's my opinion on this. This harness is not any better than do a proper hard wire. The benefit to this is really from the manufacturing standpoint. When they're mass producing trailers, it is easier for the manufacturer to have a pre-built harness that is pre-cut. All the drops are where they're supposed to be. They can just run the wire in there after it's gone to paint. They can plug their lights in and it's ready to go, and there's nothing wrong with that. They serve well. This one here, the pre-made harness on here, has been here for 10 years. So like I said, again, I'm not knocking it, but that is the real reason behind it. It is from a production standpoint, not because it's better than a hard wire. Let's move up here to the front. This can be a negative, is the molded 7-way. You've heard my opinion on molded 7-ways before. I will tell you, this is a good molded 7-way plug, and it does last, but a lot of them, you can just see the molding on them. It looks like crap, if we're just gonna be honest. Sometimes they're odd shaped. They don't fit into the truck socket very well. They'll get loose and fall out. That being said, if the rest of the harness is good, just clip this off, and that's what we were doing for a while. For a while, we had some units that had a good harness. We just didn't like the plug, so we just cut it off and put a good Pollock 7-way plug on there and be done with it. So that is the main drawbacks to the harness. As far as cost, it's probably, I didn't run the numbers, it's probably gonna be about the same money as buying all your separated wires. As far as cost, it's just availability is the biggest drawback. If you have a well-known maker model, reach out to that manufacturer to see if they will sell directly to the public as far as parts. Some do, some don't. Or you can go back through a dealer and they can source that for you, but you will need a VIN number to get that. So that's the main drawbacks, but if it's installed correctly and done maintenance, tape these up. If you're installing new, just tape that up. That will help tremendously on there. Not to keep water out, just to keep it from vibrating loose. And also sometimes we'll see this not properly secured, and that's just a lot of weight. So if you do install that, make sure it's secured either with a clamp or a good zip tie. Pre-made harnesses are good, nothing wrong with them. I'm gonna tell you whether or not what we're gonna do here in a minute. Now let's talk about the disadvantages to bulk trailer wire. I would say the biggest con to it is that you're gonna have to do it yourself. If wiring is not your thing, if you don't want to mess with it, or if you're not capable to mess with it, you have a couple options. You may try to source you a harness, or you may just need to take it into a qualified shop to do a hard wire or a harness, whatever that may be. The other con is if you do try to do it yourself and you don't make good connections, or if you just kind of throw it together, you can have lighting troubles. If you don't make a good connection that's watertight, you're likely gonna have some issues. The other con is buying cheap wire that's on the market. Sometimes we don't do our homework, we don't buy from a reputable shop or an online source, and we buy cheap wire and it just doesn't last, it corrodes out. Another con is when you hook your 7-way up to the front, using a cheap 7-way. I'm gonna recommend Pollock. Kurt makes one that's good. So one of those is what I'd recommend. Your option when you do that molded 7-way up front, you have two options. You can use a junction box, and we'll talk a little bit about junction boxes. You can use a junction box to make that connection in, and then that gives you a place to put all the rest of the wires to the trailer. This is good for the fact that it's easy to make a clean connection here on the front. If you do have trouble with that pigtail, so like if you leave too much slack in it and you drag your pigtail and expose wire, you can just unwire it here and you can go back with a molded pigtail, or if you wire your own, you're just gonna need some eyelets. It's a quick and simple connection. The mistake people make with these, and it's not a con on this, but they'll put this in here and just utilize the clamp here. If they pull the wire, it usually jerks the junction box out. So I always recommend putting a hard vinyl coated metal clamp to hold that 7-way plug, whether that be molded or hardwire in there, so that you don't destroy the junction box. I personally don't use a lot of junction boxes on my stuff. I just make a hard connection, usually cover it in heat shrink. Reason being is it's hard to get this 100% weather tight. If one of these plugs fall out or if it starts leaking, we're in a dusty environment, so dirt and crap can begin to get inside here, can attract moisture, and you may have a failure. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. If it gets corroded, take this one off and replace it with a new one. You may have to redo your connectors. That would be a con to the junction box compared to like the sealed harness where there is no junction box. But if you're doing your own hardwire, just do it without the junction box if your environment is going to make this a challenge for you down the road. Just do a hard connection, heat shrink butt connectors, then cover it with some heat shrink tubing and put a good hard clamp on it, and it's going to be there for a long time. That's really the only cons to bulk wiring, is buying cheap wire and really what your capability is. Just not doing a good job, not making it look clean. You may not be satisfied with it. Do your homework. If you're ready to rewire, if you're thinking about going to a full harness, before you rip any wire out, see if it's available to you. It's going to be harder to find than you think. I will say they're more readily available today, but they're still tough to get. Some places will not sell you the harness if you're not putting it on one of their trailers. So they're going to ask you for VIN number. So if you don't provide VIN number, they might not even provide you with that harness to go on there if you're trying to retrofit it. So that may be a stumbling block for you as well. Bulk wiring may be the way to go. On this unit here, if you ask me what I'm going to do on this, it needs a full rewire. It's got a pre-made harness. It's got everything here. I'm not going to use the pre-made harness that I have here and show this video. We will do a full hardwire. There's a couple of changes that I want to make to the trailer as far as some of the way the wire is routed. We're gonna add some lights to this. We're gonna add some other wiring to this for some other upgrades on it. So for us on this, we're gonna go with bulk wiring, make all of our own connections, and not utilize the pre-made harness. Not to knock it, it's just not going to fit our needs on this one. But we do use the pre-made harnesses. We had a PJ in the other day that rats had gotten in there and chewed the thing all to pieces. Almost a new trailer, just major rat trouble. If you've had rat trouble this year, raise your hand. But on that one, we went back with a factory harness just to make it look like it was originally. It's what the customer wanted to do, and it'll work great until you get another rat. Both of these are susceptible to rat chew, so that ain't gonna help you on that. But hopefully this helps you understand, like, you can't just roll in or get online and find a pre-made harness. They're gonna be tough. So that is the biggest con, in my opinion, is availability. Bulk wire is probably gonna be the way you wanna go, but do your homework. Make sure you seal all your connectors with butt connectors that are heat shrink. Maybe even put some heat shrink over that, and tighten the lug nuts. Don't forget to do that, because your wheels will fall off, and I don't care how good your wiring is if you're stuck on the side of the highway. We'll see you down the road.